Hello Love Notion friends, this is Alex, and today on the blog I wanted to talk to you about cover stitching, show you in a quick tutorial how I cover stitch in the round versus the flat, how I lock in my stitches, and when to use one technique versus the other. For my example today, I'm using the Ravinia skirt. The skirt got an update, so I do encourage you to get that. I will link everything in the description of the video, so go ahead and click that. Purchase your pattern and come right back and I will show you how I use my handy dandy cover stitch for the skirt. See you back here in a second. Let's get started by sewing the pockets of the Ravinia skirt. I have sewn the pocket fabric and lining as per the instruction. I've already added my first binding part with my serger, and now I'm going to flip, pin and top stitch according to the tutorial to enclose my raw edge. It is important that you use pins or clips at the beginning if you're a novice when it comes to cover stitching, and whether you're a novice or a seasoned sewist, I highly encourage you to use your steam iron all the time throughout your sewing process, especially before cover stitching. It will make your cover stitching a lot easier and nicer and the process much more enjoyable. Now that everything is stitched, I'm going to place it under my stitching, under my pressing foot. I like to sew with one needle out on the main fabric, that would be my left needle, and my right needle is on the binding itself. I'm using black thread so you guys can see the difference on the fabric. Obviously you want to match your looper thread and your needle thread to your project. I will be stitching this in the flat so you can see how to lock in the stitches. A regular sewing machine has the capability of back stitching at the beginning and at the end. Unfortunately, my cover stitch does not have the ability to do that, and I don't believe there are any on the market that can back stitch at the beginning and at the end, because it's a different type of stitch. This is a chain stitch with a cover stitch. I'm using 2 needles. My machine has the possibility to use 3 needles. However, I prefer for top stitching to use only 2 because it saves me fabric, and I don't see the necessity of having 3 needles for just top stitching. That would be great mainly for decorative stitching. Do let us know in the comments below if you would like to see a video how to do decorative stitching with your cover stitch, and I'll be more than happy to do that for you, and the Love Notion team I'm sure will be supportive of that. Just let us know in the comments. Put your lever down. Mine is in the front, it can be in the back too, and go ahead and stitch. The first stitches will be automatically locked in by the machine. The initial stitches, they won't unravel. The stitches that usually unravel are the ones that start at the end, and I will show you how easy it is to lock those in when you're top stitching in the flat. I am at the end of my stitching process, so now I'm lifting my presser foot. I am releasing the tension doing this. I am turning my knob and lifting the needles of the 2 needles. So now the needles are as high as they go and the tension is released. So now grab your scissors, or you can grab a pin or some tweezers and slide them horizontally, like so, behind the thread. Pull your thread, the 2 threads out about 6 inches, and just cut them off. Now from the back, pull your project and snip the looper thread. And now you will see right here, you have your looper thread and the two stitches tight and locked in. You can tie a knot here if you want the extra safety, but now they will not unravel if you pull on them. The top one won't unravel, and now the bottom won't either. And this is how it looks when it's finished with the cover stitching on the back and the front. This will both go in the seams, in the waistband and on the side seam, so I don't need to worry about tying any knots right now. But this is how easy it is to lock in your stitches with a flat cover stitch. My skirt is completed except for the hemming part, so I'm going to hem it right now using my cover stitch. Because the skirt is already put together, the hem is in a circle, so you will want to first and foremost press your hem. Don't skip pressing your hem. Press your hem 1 inch. It will help you tremendously when you cover stitch. You can see that I'm not even using pins, I'm not even using clips, I'm not using anything, just my trusted, devoted iron. Once you've pressed your hem 1 inch according to the pattern, it will lay nice and flat for your cover stitching, and I guarantee you the results will be beautiful. If you're more comfortable, however, using a lot of pins around the curve or around the hem, even if it's straight, this pattern has a slight curved hem, just a slight, not too much. But if you're more comfortable using pins and clips, go ahead and do that. I'm showing you how easy it is to not even use those if you press your hems prior. So I pressed my hem. I like to start about a ½ inch to 1 inch away from the seam on the back. I don't like to start right on the seam because it's a little bulkier. I don't like to start right in the back because I don't want to see the overlap that I will talk about in a second. So I like to start on the side, on the back piece of the skirt, but about 1 inch away from the hem towards the back. I highly encourage you to check your settings of the machine for tensions, because cover stitching cotton lycra, like I did before with the binding, and cover stitching double brush poly will have different tensions. I am lucky enough to have a machine that sets its own tension, so I don't have to worry about that. But I do encourage you to get a scrap piece of fabric and test your cover stitch settings for the specific fabric you're using. Cover stitching cotton lycra will have a different tension requirement than cover stitching bamboo lycra, for example, because of the weight of the fabric. So I start 1 inch behind the seam, just like I did in the front, and then I go all around the hem. My left needle is within the seam, my right needle is on the seam. That, I feel like that gives the most strength and avoids puckering. If you're having your left needle on outside of the hem and your right needle on the hem, you might see a little tunneling because the weight of the fabric on the left, being that it's only 1 layer, it's lower than the weight of the fabric on the left where you have 2 layers of fabric. So to avoid tunneling, have both needles on the hem. You can use your fingers to feel. Some people I've noticed put a strip of washi tape, a strip of washi tape on the side to feel for the hem. I like to just use my tactile function and just feel for where the hem is. Sometimes you can even see it, but you can feel where the fold is, so you know to follow that stitching line when you're hemming. It's important that you keep both needles constantly in the same spot and your fabric in the same spot. This way you have an even cover stitching on the hem. Alright, so we are close to the end of the circles, getting close to where we started. You can see your threads right here where you started. Go ahead and stitch over the initial part about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. So continue matching the stitching line as best as possible and stop. You now overlapped your stitches so they are locked in. The first stitches won't unravel, the end of the stitching won't unravel. You are good to go. I like to release the thread the same way I did it in the flat, by pushing and by pulling my threads, lock it in, and you are officially a master of hemming with your cover stitch. Go ahead and cut your threads. Super easy. This is how it looks like on the front. This is how it looks on the back with the hem. Obviously you want to give it a good hefty press to reduce any kind of waviness that you might see, and enjoy your new skirt or your new project. Thank you so much for joining me in this quick tutorial. Leave comments below if you've enjoyed it, or if you would like to see any other cover stitch projects, and not only. And I will see you back here in the next video. Bye!